Hi guys, it's Izzy and welcome back to another episode of Can Izzy get the same angles in her last video? No, she can't, because apparently she's made 6 million videos and still doesn't know where to put the camera. But I'm back. Yeah, 2 videos in a row. We are on a roll. And in today's video, it's time to get spooky. It's the spooky season. Your girl's a bit of a scaredy cat, so these aren't super scary books. I would count them spooky, unsettling, scary, but not like horror. Like, there's death, there's violence, there's creepy stuff. It's thrillery, it's suspenseful, it's paranormal, but it's not full on horror. And I'm pretty easily freaked. So if you're someone that doesn't like full on horror, I think you should be okay with these books. I was okay with these books as long as I didn't read them before going to bed. I really actually had a plan to read a lot of spooky books this month, but I've had a recent return of my trauma nightmares, so I can't read the scary books, but I'm here to recommend them to you today, and that's all I'm going to say. Izzy, shut up. So let's get on with the video. I made one of these videos last year. I think there's only like one that I'm going to recommend again, so if you want even more spooky books, check that video out. If I remember, it'll be in the cards, but if not, because I rarely remember, you can just find it on my channel, also called Spooky Reads, I think. So, without any further ado, let's get on to the spooky books. The first book I'm just going to do is the one that I recommended last year because it's one of my favourite books ever. I plan to reread it this October. I'm very excited about it, and that is Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand. I think this book is extremely underhyped. I love it. I think it's a fantastic book. I'm only going to talk about it briefly because, like I said, I've talked about it quite a few times before, but basically it is a book that follows 3 girls, 2 who live on this island called Sawkill Rocks, and Rocks, and 1 girl who has just moved there, and she finds out that girls are continuing to go missing on this island, and they have no idea why, where they go. They've never found any remains or anything like that, and the disappearances are happening more and more frequently, and she sets out to try and find out what is killing these girls. It's paranormal, sort of like magical realism-ish. It's just incredible. The writing is incredible, the atmosphere is incredible. It's all about sisterhood and feminism and female empowerment, and there's a great sapphic romance in it, and it's just such a cool book. It is probably, in my opinion, the scariest book, probably, but I still was okay with it, and I read it last October, or maybe, no, the October before, 2 years ago. I think about it on a weekly basis. Like, I cannot get this book out of my head. It's just incredible. What can I say? The next book I'm going to recommend is a more recent read that I really enjoyed, and that is Even If We Break by Marieke Nijkamp. This is a YA thriller that follows a group of friends who play this role-playing game that they've made up for many years, and they're all kind of going their separate ways for university, and so they decide that they will go to a cabin in the woods for one last hurrah and play this game for one last time, and things go down and it's creepy. There's 5 friends. One of them is autistic and has chronic pain and is bisexual. One of them is non-binary, and one of them is trans and has arthritis, and like chronic pain and uses crutches, and so the representation is so good in this book, especially the disability representation. I literally want everyone to read it. But this atmosphere is so cool. You can't be a cabin in the woods. It's really freaky, it's really fast paced. I did think the ending dragged on a little bit, but for the most part it's really fast paced, it's really exciting. I was just super engaged. It's really creepy, and I really liked the role-playing aspect, as it gave it like a more fantasy feel, I guess, which as a lover of fantasy, that's a win for me. The next book I'm going to recommend is The Reckless Afterlife of Harriet Stoker by Lauren James. I read the e-arc of this. It came out in September, and I gave this book 4.5 stars, and basically it follows this girl, Harriet Stoker, who goes to an old building at her university to take photos, I believe. I can't remember quite why she went, and she dies, and she ends up as a ghost in this university building with a bunch of other ghosts, because if you die you have to stay where you died. And she starts to figure out that there's this like hierarchy in this ghost world, and that it can become very dangerous, and she kind of goes down a very dark path, and it's great. It's super spooky, it's really engaging, fast paced, really enjoyable. There is some definitely kind of gruesome moments, but it's just really, really entertaining. And again, another spooky book about ghosts, so you know that's like extra spooky. And I just really liked all the different characters. I really enjoyed seeing Harriet kind of go down this really dark path, and it was just so good. It was just so good. And overall it's just a super engaging and spooky book that I would highly recommend. I haven't heard a ton of people talking about it, but it's really great. The main kind of romance is between two boys, so that's also cool. It's not really that romance heavy, but it is queer, and the main character identifies as pansexual, but I don't think she has a romance. Can't quite recall, but I don't think she does. But it's a great book, and you should read it. The next book I'm going to recommend is an adult thriller, and that is The Animals at Lockwood Manor by Jane Healey, and this is a adult thriller book that is set in World War II in England, and our main character, whose name I always forget, I think her name is Hetty. Yes, Hetty. And Hetty is working in a museum, and she is charged with keeping the like stuffed animals safe, which they use for research. And so she and the animals are evacuated to this manor, Lockwood Manor, and that is where they'll stay for the duration of the war. There she meets the daughter of the master of the house, I don't know, Lucy, and they kind of start to think they're going crazy. Animals move, signs are left, kind of there's all these like spooky signs, like rooms kind of appear that they didn't know were there, they hear voices, they see people, and it is all very creepy. And it's a really cool book in which the house feels like a character. The house is so alive and so ever changing and just so atmospheric that it feels like it was written to be a part of the story and to be a character in the story and to change kind of the story's direction. And it's just such a brilliant atmosphere that it creates, and it also has a sapphic romance, and the ending I found was really satisfying. I know this is kind of a polarizing book. I think you kind of either love it or hate it. I loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I think it was a really different book. Again, similar to Sawkill Girls, just one I think about a lot and one that really sticks in my head. Again, this one's probably one of the creepier ones, and I would definitely say check the trigger warnings. Not for all of them, but this one in particular. And yeah, it's just fantastic. If you're looking for an adult creepy novel, then this is one for you. It's not paranormal, so if you're not like super into paranormal and you just want like regular creepy, this is a book for you, and also just like, can we all, like, I'm sorry, who gave you the right to create such a beautiful book? The next book I'm going to recommend is a book I've only finished this month, and it comes out, I believe, in a week's time. So probably by the time you're seeing this, it will be out. I think it comes out on the 13th. If it's not the 13th, I'll put it on the screen, but I'm pretty sure it's the 13th, and that is The Shadow War by Lindsay Smith. I gave this book a 4-star, I think, like maybe a 3.5, but like, it was a solid book. And if you're like me, a fan of the Diviners, and can we all just give Izzy a round of applause for not mentioning Diviners in this video, because it's the perfect spooky read. I won't say any more than that. We all know I love the Diviners, and I mentioned it in my other spooky reads, but still, I was restrained and I did not put it in this video. You're welcome. But if you are a fan of the Diviners, then I think this is a book you will enjoy. It is set in the Second World War, and it follows a group of 5 teenagers who are kind of trying to aid the rebels and fight in the war. They're not soldiers. A couple of them are Jewish, like 3 of them are gay. Like, there's so much representation. One of them's black. Like, they've got it all going on. And one of them has figured out how to travel to another dimension, the shadow dimension, and things get creepy, and basically they have to stop the Nazis gaining access to this shadow world, because kind of whoever's got the power over it will probably win the war because it is so powerful. And it was a really engaging and exciting book, and it was super creepy. The kind of scenes with the like shadow powers and with the kind of death were pretty gruesome for me. I did find it kind of scary, and I would not recommend this before bed because it did kind of freak me out, but not in a horror way, just in a ooh, that's kind of gross way. And yeah, it's a really great book to read in October. It's super spooky. You also get that historical fiction aspect, which I always think is a wintry kind of fall kind of category genre. That's when I like to read my historical fiction, is in the autumn. A book that I'm sure a lot of people have read by now. I mean, it was pretty popular, but I'm going to mention it anyway, and that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is an adult book that takes place, what university does it take place in? I don't know anything because I always get everything. Yale. Takes place in Yale, and our main character Alex basically joins a secret society and finds out that there are these like 9 houses at Yale, and each house has like a different magical power kind of thing, and she is in the house that kind of has to monitor all of the other houses to make sure they're not doing anything, like they're not murdering people, etc. And then a body turns up and she has to figure out which one of the houses has done it. It's super creepy, definitely one you absolutely should check the trigger warnings for. It does contain scenes of sexual assault, but it's kind of paranormal, kind of like that dark academia vibe, and put them both together and it is a good time. And the autumnal vibes could not be stronger than in this book. Like, it's just such strong autumn vibes because you get the paranormal and you get the dark academia in it. It's like, what more could you want? That's my question. What more could you want from a book? Not a lot. Although I feel like I saw that we aren't getting the second book till like 2022, I think, and it came out last year. Did it come out last year? I don't even know anymore. At this point, what am I doing? I don't know. And those are the main books I'm going to recommend, but I'm just going to do a few quick, like, bonus honourable mentions if you're looking for more spooky books that aren't necessarily my favourite, but ones I still enjoyed and are definitely a spooky time. I mean, The Diviners. Do I need to say more? No. The Devouring Grey and The Deck of Omens, a duology that I've talked about multiple times, and I think I recommended The Devouring Grey in my first video, my first Spooky Reads video, and it's a really great duology. I gave both of them 4 stars. It's a really strong series and really satisfying. Again, it's paranormal based and follows 4 teenagers living in this kind of sort of like Stranger Things vibe of the town of like Hawkins. Like, this town has this beast inside it, and these teenagers have to save the world. It's just a really strong duology, so I would highly recommend it, seeing as now both books are out. A middle grade recommendation is Ghost Squad by Claribel A. Ortega. This is a really fun book that gives me similar vibes to City of Ghosts and Tunnel of Bones by V. Schwab, which I recommended in my last video and I really love. And this is just a really cute spooky read about 2 girls who go on a mission to save one of the girls' family, and it has ghosts, and it talks about grief and friendship and the importance of culture and heritage and just a bunch of stuff. And it's just, if you want something autumnal and spooky that's not gonna like scare you, then that's definitely a book you should read, and it's a really nice time. Wilder Girls by Rory Powers is a sort of sci-fi dystopian book that follows an island of girls who have been infected with this mysterious illness that is causing their bodies to mutate, and they are isolated on this island, and they're kind of fighting for survival, and it's pretty creepy and more graphic in terms of like body horror. I personally struggle with body horror. It can be triggering for me, and I was okay with this book, but just if you're like me and do find that somewhat triggering, I would stay away from this book. But it's queer, it's a kind of Lord of the Flies feminist retelling. I really liked the ending. I know some people didn't, but I didn't really see any other way to end it, so I was satisfied with the ending, and it was just a really engaging time, and I would highly recommend picking it up if you're looking for something quick, maybe something to get you out of a reading slump. Then that's definitely a book for you. One that I think is actually counted as horror, but it's YA, and that's Rules for Vanishing by, I forgot her name, I'll put it on the screen, and this is a book about, I think, 7 friends, and one of the girl sisters has gone missing, and everyone thinks she ran away with her boyfriend, but her sister refuses to believe that that's what's happened. She doesn't think her sister would do that, and so they hear about rumours that there's this pathway that appears at a certain time during like the full moon or something. I can't remember why it forms, and you have to get through these 7 gates to survive and make it through, otherwise you'll die. And yeah, this was like horror, but I personally found it okay, but I did find it a little bit repetitive and not like super great. But if you read the summary and it sounds intriguing to you, I would suggest picking it up. I had a relatively good time reading it, and it's another sort of like, if you're looking for like an introduction to horror that's not adult horror, then I think this might be a good book for you. Down Among the Sticks and Bones by, why can I not remember any names? The same person who wrote Every Heart a Doorway. Shannon Maguire. Every Heart a Doorway is the first book, and Down Among the Sticks and Bones is the second book. And the second book is very spooky, and it contains vampires, and these two girls go into this world where there are vampires and they are on the moors, is what it's called, and they kind of have to fight for survival or become a vampire. It's a spooky book. You should read the series anyway, and Down Among the Sticks and Bones is my favourite, but it's the spookiest of them and a great book to read in October. And finally, As I Descended by Robin Talley, a book I didn't particularly like, but I believe it's a retelling of Macbeth, and it's got a sapphic romance and it's got disability rep, which was super cool. And I love Robin Talley's book Music from Another World. It's one of my favourite books, but definitely not spooky. But As I Descended has ghosts, spooky. I would suggest, if you like Macbeth, if you're looking for Robin Talley's other work, I think this is the only like thrillery book she's written. Check it out. I think it's a good book if you like it, to read it in October. So yes, those are all my recommendations for the books you should be reading this month. Hopefully I'll get this video out in a good amount of time so that you can actually read these books in October, but you know, what can we do? We've just got to work with the time we have. And my next video should be my video where I do kind of like a recent wrap up of the books I've been reading with disability rep in the last like month or so, and talk more in depth about whether it's good representation, harmful representation, whether it's like good information or information that I don't think is helpful, etc, etc. That should be my next video, and yeah, I really look forward to making that video too. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a spooky October and that you enjoy some of these books and that you read The Diviners. Don't tell anyone I said that. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. I hope this video wasn't too long. I tried my best to be brief. Wow, Izzy. Always trying new things. There's a first time for everything, I guess. But yes, I'll stop talking now. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!